Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Season 15 draft analysis for the Porch League. I'm here with my co-host Kyle. Say hi, Kyle.
Hi, Kyle.
And my name is Adam, as many, but maybe not all of you know. So welcome. This is how many times have we done this draft analysis now? Are we officially at group?
It was probably 7 or 8 when we started.
Yeah, I was brainstorming this morning about how maybe we could get them on Spotify. I don't know what
Get what on
involved in
Spotify?
that. Get our old audio recordings
Oh,
on
that's so
Spotify, and
funny.
then have we'll be like an artist.
I looked through my
Yeah.
old emails when I was hanging out with Emerson, and I found a email that I sent to Tony Maggio for season 3 of Random Draft League. And it's dated September 13th, 2017.
Oh no! Oh my gosh! So are we? That means we're going on 4.5 years.
Yeah.
Greater than the amount of time I spent in college.
Exactly. So
this is probably greater than half of the amount of time that we
right.
with each other.
So this is our dissertation, right?
Yes. So after this will be officially amateurs.
Yay. But this is, as many times as we've done it, just like Pokemon always does, it introduces new games, which introduces new metas, and not that we're going back to the basics, but you definitely kind of feel like a new fish every time there's a huge shift in the meta, right?
Yeah, and I think going back to basics is actually a great way to think about this. It's a reversion to some of this is Brilliant Diamond, Shining Pearl, which was Gen 4 initially. Obviously there are 8 generations total, and so it's basically rolling back half of the generations.
Right.
Back to a lot of Pokemon have lost moves. Notably, most Pokemon don't know Toxic.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of Pokemon lost Defog, and so there really is a feel of like back to the basics of like you can't just throw Ice Punch on everything.
It's weird.
Just draft Punk Elder.
Yeah, I mean, thank God we don't have hidden powers again. Those were annoying. I feel like now that it's been out of the meta for so long, I feel like the detox, and it's so far away now that I'm like, I never want that drug again. And so thank God that's not back. There's like other weird things like Probopass, for example, knows Body Press as a level up move now. It's one of only 2 Pokemon that have access to a move that was a Gen 8 move, but they now, like, during the reversion, they kept some of that stuff.
Right.
Weird items. Yeah, Miss Magus has the Mystical Fire, the only one in the whole dex that has Mystical Fire. Like no Eviolite as an item, obviously no Heavy Duty Boots as an item.
No Rocky Helmet.
No Rocky Helmet. That was a big one for me. I feel like I loved using that item. So it'll be weird. I think I may sound confident in this recording, and it's mostly a performance because I actually have no idea. I've also kind of detoxed from Pokemon in general. I don't think I've played since the end of our season at all on the ladder, anything like that. So I'm gonna be coming in with kind of fresh eyes too, and just being like, what have I? It'll be weird to figure out what I forgot until it's too late.
So we have this new generation, and we're using
a new coach.
A new coach, yeah. Welcome Emerson of the Dalton Dragapults.
Yeah, congrats, welcome.
Yeah, we're very excited to have you. And I think we also used a new tier list and a new style of drafting.
Right. So we're doing.
Why don't you tell us about that?
Yeah, so we're doing the points-based draft, and I was first introduced to this style in tournaments. So it's very, very common in like these quick 2-week Pokemon tournaments. You can draft 7 to 9 Pokemon, and then draft that way. I feel originally we used to do the like 5 tiers in the Mega, and that's kind of like
wild now. Like with
Yeah,
18 tiers, it seems crazy to imagine trying to push all
right.
these 5 tiers.
Well, yeah. What we used to do is we used to do those 5 teams, and then the other kind of format was points format. And then the creator of this website, Otto, his leagues tried to do a hybrid version of that, where instead of five, not 20 tiers, not 5 tiers, we're going to try to like limit it down to like 8 or like 10 tiers. Um, and so when we switched to Gen 8, we as a league switched to the hybrid format. So we played the traditional format, we played the hybrid format. This is the first time as a league we're going to uh, the thing that it's the traditional is a hybrid with, which is the point format. So, what did you think of it, Adam?
It was very interesting. And to be honest, so I guess I have a couple feelings. So one is that I think that this was helpful given the limited tier list. The
Hmm.
fact that there are so few Pokemon, you can even see all the red Pokemon on here are the ones that are like, basically they were drafted. And so there are so few Pokemon that are above, basically in the top half left. There's only only a handful basically
Hmm.
that are in the top half. And so, um, that I thought was very interesting. That has more to do with BDSP, the fact, of the decks than the tier list. But so I thought, but I thought that the points draft complemented the limited decks
Right.
in one way. But in other ways, like we were talking, you and I were talking during the draft about we were comparing certain Pokemon, like I think Espeon and Mesprit were the two we were comparing, and I actually wound up drafting Espeon after our conversation. So
Right.
Espeon's in tier 9, Mesprit is in tier 11, and so I
Right.
felt like actually with 20 tiers there were several Pokemon that were in a lower tier than a different Pokemon. Like
Right.
Espeon was in a lower tier than Mesprit. And it's
Right.
not that Espeon is necessarily better than Mesprit and deserves to be in a better tier, but there might be an instance, like on my team, I felt like I needed speed, I needed something that was more
Hmm.
immediately offensive, and I had a few rockers
Yeah.
already at that point. And so I felt like Espeon, in every single aspect, Espeon was better for my team than Mesprit, and I also got, it was cheaper than Mesprit. And so I felt like there were a few artificial divides um, like that.
Hold
And
on one second.
maybe there's an argument that in this specific example that Espeon is under tiered or something like that. But um, I did feel like there were some basically artificial divides in Pokemon that allowed, basically, if you were creative, it allowed you to get a discount on a Pokemon that was perfect for your team. And
Right.
so I wonder if that's something that we are okay with or not. I'm not sure
Yeah.
how I feel
I
about it
think
yet.
I think one of the things, and I feel like I talked to you about this in the in the DMs, but I felt like because of how flexible the tiers were, or the point system was, is it was less of you trying to fit and because you could get a different amount of Pokemon, it wasn't like trying to cram square pegs into round holes. Like, oh, I only
Mm,
have 2 slots left, and I need this, and I need that, and I guess I'll grab it. It was less of that, and it felt like you could, like, I guess, be a little bit more fluid with your picks. It's
mm-hmm.
like, well, maybe you didn't, maybe you're late in the draft. You only have 21 points remaining. And so you're kind of looking around the sixes and the sevens, but then you see an 11-point Pokemon that would do well on your team. You still have the opportunity to grab it and either grab one less Pokemon or just like flex. So I felt like the usually when we draft, the tier system and the mechanics are something that you're fighting against
Mm,
with a
yeah.
limit. I felt like the like things that were your barriers to a successful team this time were a limited number of Pokemon and the other coaches obviously
Yep.
sniping you
Yep.
because there was it was like doubled because there was such a limited amount of Pokemon. Oh, I want a Pokemon less than 10 points that has a speed greater than 100. Okay, well then 5 people are going to be looking at the same 2 Pokemon that fit in that category. Um, so it felt more like more room for sniping than the past few times we've done it.
Right. Though you're right. I think that the points did. I didn't even, to be honest, I took my first 3 draft picks without looking at the tier list at all. I was just doing audio with someone, so I I took Gliscor. I was like, I think it's in one of the top 3 tiers, but I'll just take it.
Right.
But I didn't even think about points until my last 2 Pokemon.
Yeah.
I basically was just like, what's the best Pokemon left on the board for my team?
Right.
And I do appreciate that flexibility. I think that was nice.
I don't think because I don't think that it was that the points. I don't think we had too many points, because that could be also a critique of if you said, oh, I didn't even have to think about it. Because I think looking at even just the distribution of Pokemon that are left shows that we had a good amount of points for Pokemon. I just think, I don't know. I think it was more chalked up to the other things and the flexibility of the point system. So yeah.
Yeah.
Let's think. So some other things about BDSP in general. We talked about it being like less Pokemon. I think also with that, there's just an overall, instead of the speed creep or the power creep from generation to generation, that was sort of crept back down. It was kind of awkward, and like I had to like wrap my brain around some of just like this typical stats. So I'm going to pull up. This is just the team builder, and I think it's set. Let me just make sure. Yeah, it's set to BDSP. If I sort by special attack, and oh, you guys can't see this on your screen. Sorry. Hold on. Nope. Here. Okay, cool. If I sort by special attack and I ignore all of the banned Pokemon, the strongest Pokemon in our draft league is Alakazam, and then Porygon Z, and then it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 Pokemon tied for third place for the strongest Pokemon in the draft, including Espeon, Glaceon, Magnezone, Heatran, Gengar. So to me, that's very significant. And you can do the same with attack. Now there are some, I think, some like, I don't know, min-maxed examples up at the top, but very early where it's like Rhyperior, Salamence, Metagross, Dragonite, Tyranitar, Breloom, which all hit hard. I'm not saying I don't think they didn't hit hard before, but there was like almost like a tier above that is now just gone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, similarly with speed, we're missing Pokemon like Zeraora, like Regieleki,
Tapu Koko.
Tapu Koko. So, my kind of, the thing that I was thinking of during the draft is
your like benchmark.
My benchmark is that Infernape is the new Weavile.
So that's good.
That base 108, there's a lot of Pokemon that were at that base 108, like Artana and Caballon, like the Caballon and I'm blanking on the other ones, but those other ones. There were a lot of like base 107, base 108 Pokemon that just aren't there anymore, and so Infernape at 108 actually I think is a great, I think that would be the great fastest Pokemon on a team.
Yeah, there's not much ahead of it, and when they are ahead of it, some of them are just Pokemon that aren't that great. There's few really good Pokemon above that 108 benchmark, I think.
And so then and another one I was thinking of is like base 100 is like the new base 110. So if you have a few base 100 Pokemon or in the 95, 92, those are still pretty fast, I think, in this meta. So especially for the Pokemon that are faster than that, not very many of them are also the strongest Pokemon.
Right. And you can see that. I mean, when you look at the tiers, even if we disagree with some of the placements of them, you can see that generally speaking, that where Gengar is placed is reflective of the fact that it's one of the strongest special attackers now. Salamence, same thing. So, cool. I think that's all we had to say about sort of overall. I don't know, gestures at the league. Do you want to get into the draft order and start critiquing each team?
Sure, why don't we do that? So, we'll go through the teams in the order that they were picked in the draft. And so first up was the Seaville Weaviles. This is Coach Andy. And I just want to give a shout out to Sean for making that list of who is the luckiest drafter. And I think Andy and Chris have Chris was third in the draft. We're two of
It might be
two.
me now. It's like the three luckiest people got first through third.
Right, right. Just based on the how good, quote, good their draft position was.
Right.
So, of course, very funny to have, some of our longest tenured people who also sometimes are in charge of randomizing the draft order.
You saw it at the top. You saw the banner. It was official. We did it the right way.
Yeah, Ian confirmed.
Automatic sealed at the top, the banner. We did it the right way.
Right, exactly. So anyway, I also thought it was very noteworthy that from the tier list that we pulled, we didn't make very many changes, but we did move Scizor up 4 tiers, and it did get drafted first overall after moving up 4.
I love it.
I just love that. I think it's great.
I think it's great.
I do wonder, I think this is just a question for Andy, but I wonder if, by the time it got back around to him, I'm not sure that there were any 18 or 17 point Pokemon left. And so Scizor was, the highest pointed Mon that he was able to pick. So I wonder if, maybe Scizor was still under tiered at 16 points, but was it worth it to take it number 1 overall, losing out on a potentially better Pokemon? I don't know. I think that's a question for Andy to think about. But otherwise, I think I think this team is pretty good. It does have Shuckle actually in a meta where they're where what am I trying to say? Hazards, yes, are important. I think Shuckle is going to be great. I do wonder if Andy's going to be bringing Shuckle a lot of weeks. Maybe that's okay with just 9 Pokemon, but I'd be curious about that. The team hits pretty hard. It does have setup with Flygon, and I don't know. What do you think about it?
I think that the top picks are all really strong. As they were picked up, I was like, that might be the best Pokemon in its tier. Oh, that one also. Crawdaunt was on my short list for best Pokemon and shortest Pokemon in the 13 tier. And I think that's true for a lot of these picks. Shuckle being only 5 points, Hitmonlee 7 points. I think the Rotoms I don't actually know if this is true, but I have the intuition that the Rotoms, because there are a lot of just nerfs to move pools and stuff, that electric types kind of got hurt by not having Signal Beam anymore, not having hidden powers, and so the Rotoms felt like at least they had another stab, and they were and they're not ground weak. I don't know. I was like, those are some of the things that I was thinking about. I think one thing that I'm noticing right now is how potentially weak to Scald this team is. There are things like Slowking where it's not that big of a deal, but there are. Shuckle. Shuckle, it's weak. Entei, it's obviously weak. Crawdaunt, one of your 2 water types, can't really switch into a Scald. Scizor doesn't like to switch into a Scald, and that's only important because there are no clerics, nothing with Heal Bell or aromatherapy. But this feels like most variations of this team are going to be on the hyper offensive side. Maybe I'm wrong. I think that Slowking and that Rotom might prove to show a different, to change gears to a slower style. But the team's pretty fast for the meta. There's a lot of setup. A Zelf can do that sort of set up rocks and screens and explode, or U-turn out, or that could be Shuckle that does that, and then a Zelf can either Swords Dance or Nasty Plot or whatever other, I don't even know which setup moves it gets. I'm sure a ton of them. And so that sort of weak to a move, you don't want to switch into a move, might not be that big of a criticism. The fact that he was able to pick up a dragon at all, because I don't think he got it in the first 2 rounds. I think is notable. Um, this team's just hard to grade. I think is what I'm getting at.
Right. I think especially relative to, I think you're right to point out that it'll be very offensively named most weeks. Um, but yeah, you're right that it's hard to grade, especially compared to thinking about the kind of general lack of power. Maybe this team actually is one of the
Yeah,
most firepower.
one of the strongest attackers now. One of the strongest special attackers, right under that sort of 130 benchmark we were talking about, where 5 Pokemon are tied for third place. 120, but with adaptability, like probably one of the strongest attackers. If you play OU right now, nearly half the teams have Crawdon on it. And Entei is extremely strong for its speed. And even like Slowking and Rotom-Mow for being your like defensive Pokemon both have special attacks 100 or higher. There's a lot of firepower on this team, and I think it could just overwhelm um, teams that are more middling with the firepower, but aren't so bulky that they can handle all those hits.
Right. So yeah, we'll have to see how it goes. I think this team would be fun to use. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I would have a blast building with this type of team. How do you think? How might another team beat this one? There's a question that I want to retain from previous episodes. What would another coach do if they are going up against this team? What do they do?
I think that, like you mentioned, there's not a lot of Scald switch-ins with hmm, uh, I mean, I feel like I'm seeing that it's a little bit knockoff week too. It's week to Crawdon, where a lot of these Pokemon like Gonzal, wants to keep the light play. I
Right.
guess the runs focus have to, but Crawdon might want to Slife Orb or Choice Band. Same with Entei. Um, Slowking's a little bit knockoff week.
Yeah.
So I guess I have an intuition that like a Scarf knockoff or a Scarf Scald or something would be very strong against this team, but I
Yeah.
don't necessarily know exactly how that would play out.
If you were one of the if you were one of the 5 lucky coaches to draft a Pokemon with knockoff, then you will do well. I think also, like in general, just thinking about how to play against hyper offense, you have to ask, can my team actually survive for as long as it would need to in order to knock out this team? It's a little bit of a question of durability, and also managing your sacks. If Groudon is out in front of you and you have a Pokemon that you really kind of need late game out, then you go, okay, well, I have to just choose something to die right now. And so thinking about what has less priority or management on your team, well, just switch into that, let it die, bring in the thing you want. I think that's sort of a way to get around the power that exists here.
Right, especially because some of the stronger Pokemon, like Groudon and Scizor, are a little bit slower. So
Right.
though they have priority, you may be able to live a hit with your faster Pokemon.
Right. I'm going to switch ahead. Next up is me.
Next. Hey,
I'm next.
Do you want me to talk about your team first, or do you want to talk about your team first?
You can. Let me start, and then you can get going.
Yeah.
I'll ask you one like leading question, and then I'll go. What type of team is this?
This is a stall.
So I went into the draft thinking I told some people, I'm like, I think stall might be good this generation because there's no Z moves, there's no, I don't know, megas, there's no busted Pokemon like Rillaboom or Dracovish that have these ridiculous like one shot nuke moves. There's like not a lot of like ways that you would normally counter stall are still here, like poisoning Pokemon or things like that. The big question for me before the draft was named or anything like that was like, Yeah, but in practice, how do you get like what would be the necessary components in order to draft a stall team? Because if you look on the ladder, every stall team has Gliscor, Clefable, and Skarmory. And you cannot practically get Clefable and Gliscor um, in 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 a functioning draft league, in a good draft league. Um, and so I was kind of just thinking like, okay, well then I can pick either. I can build around Gliscor. Once I got my draft number, and I saw that I was second. I'm like, I either can get Gliscor or Clefable. And I kind of just felt like if I could get Clefable and Skarmory, then I can go for stall. If I get Clefable first and someone else picks Skarmory, that's okay. I'll just build a different type of team. Um, so it was only because Skarmory stayed around, thanks to Chris, who was right ahead of me, and I convinced him to not draft Skarmory, that this was able to work out at all. And then I honestly just kind of feel like once I got Clefable, Starmie as a rapid spinner, and Skarmory, I was like, anything else, I'll just try to pick because I'm close to the wheel. I'm like, I'll just pick the two most stalliest Pokemon that are remaining, and I went from there. So
Yeah, I mean, I think you drafted a very good. I think it's a great stall team. I think this might be the best stall team that has been drafted in our league in 15 seasons. Um, and notably, you drafted 11 Pokemon compared to many coaches drafted 9 this season. So I'll be interested to see how that impacts um, your prepping and other people prepping against you. You have some of your lower tiers are good or interesting. Like Dugong has some utility um, with like a
Perish Trap.
Song, Perish Trap. Shedinja obviously is, Shedinja's stall is basically if you can figure out which Pokemon can hurt Shedinja and then get rid of those, then you just automatically win because nobody can touch Shedinja. So
I hope it
that is
happens
like a
once. I hope it happens
oh my
once where they're
gosh.
like, I don't have a super effective move and my Stealth Rocker died.
Right. Yeah, so Tangela, Quagsire. I have been facing Quagsire on the OU ladder a lot, and it is extremely, extremely difficult to beat. Almost every time I run into it, I have to try and PP stall recovers. That's like the only thing I can
I've been
do.
playing on the ladder and someone ran was it the power herb Heatran with solar power was probably their like Quagsire answer that they had to build into their team.
Right. It's extremely difficult to prep for, and it's one of the only non-poison types that retains toxic. So
Mm-hmm.
your water type can't just stall it out because most water types don't have toxic anymore. So I guess a few notes about how to beat this team. Okay. First, I guess maybe where does this sit in the meta? I mean, I think we talked about the power is much lower, um, and so slower and more methodical, maybe more balanced teams are a little bit more prevalent this season. But this is obviously way more defensive than most of those teams, and I think without a lot of breakers, that this team is going to be really hard to beat. And just because they don't exist in this meta, and you have a lot of different things. And so, just a couple, I guess, ideas for how to break a team like this. One is be really, really careful to not put choice items on Pokemon that you don't want to be locked into a move. So, for example, if you bring, choice specs, your, Gengar or whatever. I don't think Gengar gets Energy Ball, but if you have Energy Ball plus Thunderbolt, I can beat Quagsire or I can beat Skarmory. You do not want to be choicing that Pokemon because you're gonna instead of beating both, you're actually gonna beat neither. So I think that is super important for a lot of people. I think also like winning hazards against this team is going to be really important, which means being really careful about knocking out Starmie, or like is it really worth trading hazards when Kyle has Zatu in the back and can switch in, and so many defogs. So forcing getting rid of the rapid spinner, forcing defogs, I think is going to be important. Obviously keeping your designated Shedinja attacker, whether that be putting Sandstorm on, your Uxie or whatever, or something like that.
Hmm.
Getting up, that's part of winning the Hazard War. So T-Spike or Rock, um, or Spikes actually will break Shedinja. Um, Remembering Shedinja can run Focus Sash, so you basically have to do 2 hits on it. And being careful about letting Linoon set up. This is really interesting. It's almost the inverse of Chansey offense. This is like Linoon stall. So obviously Linoon gets the Belly Drum E speed set, and I think it retains Shadow Claw, and base 100 is the new base 110. So I think you have to be really, really careful and thoughtful about who you let take damage and which items you're putting on Pokemon if you're facing this team. So
Andy mentioned. Oh, go on.
I was just gonna say, I think this is a very scary team. A lot of times with stall, once you break one piece of the stall, then you can find a wedge, and you can put your wedge in that spot. So like if you're able to get Skarmory down, then now you can Earthquake spam. Except not for this team because Zatu and Flygar. But you know what I mean. Once you kill Quagsire, then you can start Thunderbolting freely.
Right. Or if you know that my Clefable is running Magic Guard because you burned it and it's not taking any damage from that, then you know that Quagsire is my only unaware Pokemon. So you isolate that, you kill that. Now you can set up on any with any of your Pokemon. I think that's going to be the hard thing about piloting a team like this, is that teams are going to be coaches are going to be very, very, very creative with how they're going to break through this, and there's just going to be shit that I can't account for, or they're going to it's their Life Orb Glaceon that with Shadow Ball that wins this one, or a mixed attacking Azelf with Workup, or I don't know. It's just like there's going to be things that I'm going to lose games because I'm like I never would have been able to plan for that type of thing.
Maybe if you wanted to, maybe you could talk to Andy Kramer about trading for Ditto. You can do a lot of scouting that way.
Ditto would be cool. I think it's over 10 points, so I think I'll keep my Linoon. I think I need my. I think I want to try. Yeah, I want to try this team, but I think so. One.
Natu plus Tangela.
Yeah, there you go. I think that Andy said after the draft, or maybe after I just drafted Linoon, he said that Linoon really you need to make sure the rest of your team, like you kind of have to play a 5 versus 6 game the entire time, because you're going to keep Linoon in the back the whole time. And I think this is the type of team where I can find 5 Pokemon that can really just kind of stall out and chip damage the other team, and then bring in Linoon. I hope so. There's a lot of components about this team that I really like. I think I'm just a little nervous about piloting the team. I think the team logically makes sense, and I'm excited to use it.
Yeah, I hope you have fun with your hour-and-a-half-long games.
Oh, I will have a blast. I will put on timer turn 1. sip my coffee, and click roost.
Yeah, I feel like timer might be important
for their sanity and mine.
Galar United.
Galar United is next. You have the list, so you'll have to tell me because I don't know.
Chris mentioned me a couple times. He got Latias, which I was going to go for, and he got Hitmontop, which I was going to go for.
Chris also... There's no way you were going to get Latias. You can't call that a snipe. Oh, wait, no. You hadn't...
First two...
Yeah, you hadn't picked yet. Yeah, never mind. I was thinking that you already drafted Gliscor and you were wanting Gliscor Latias. No. Okay, yeah.
That would be great, though.
Chris also drafted 9 Pokemon, the minimum.
Right, and the lowest point of Pokemon is 7 points with Ambipom.
Yep.
I think that's pretty good. And I think Chris also was one of the coaches that basically took some of the highest pointed Pokemon that were still available.
Yep.
And he's also one of the only coaches with an actual Dragon Fairy Steel core. And it's 3 extremely good. This would have been a good core in Gen 7 or Gen 8 also.
Yep.
So, I mean, I think it looks great on paper. I think this team looks extremely scary.
I really like this team. I understand why people might not like it, given that there's only 2 Pokemon that are faster than 80 on the team. And one of them being the lowest pointed Pokemon in his draft. But honestly, I think the Togekiss Latias special combo is going to be very, very, very hard. I think that combo together is really hard to outlast, especially when you have Magnezone to trap the Steel types. Get the Steel type out of the way, and the Fairies and the Dragons are going to go crazy. So even with that sort of special preference in the top of the draft, that is sort of counteracted with the low tiers having Swampert, Rhyperior, Hitmontop, Spiritomb, and Ambipom as potential partners to this team. I could see these top 4 Pokemon coming every single week, and that almost doesn't matter. We've had coaches do that, like I feel like Nick is sort of known for like having 4 top tiers, Piloswine, and then insert another Pokemon, and then that's just the team every week.
Yeah. I think it's pretty easy to see how you could bring Latias, Togekiss, Magnezone, Swampert using Hitmontop. You get your Rapid Spinner.
Yeah.
You got your T-Spikes. You got Weezing with can get Fire Blast.
And it's the physical wall versus Hitmontop. It can be the special wall.
Right. I just think it's very strong. I think Ambipom is a really great low tier. I think it has with Technician, Fake Out is really, really strong. Helps to break setup if you don't have any other options. I think it's really nice. It's it's a strong like Life Orb U-turn, fast U-turn with it. So I think this is a great team. I think it's bulky enough.
Yep.
It's not. I think this is more offensive than the average team.
My biggest concern, because I do think it's a cool team, I would love to play with this team. My biggest concern is just those speed tiers. Pokemon that are like 85 base speed can really just invest a whole lot in offenses and defenses and things like that.
Nidoking goes kind of crazy against this team.
So that's like the biggest worry about the team, but I love the top 4 Pokemon almost are things that I would draft to any generation together. This is also, I've been kind of hyping up and then not drafting Magnezone for like 5 seasons now. I think Magnezone in a National Dex format is really good, and therefore I think it's going to be really good for Chris here.
One tip against this team: when you think you're trapped with Magnezone, you should still try and switch, because if you try and switch, it
could be unsturdy. Yep.
Yeah, it'll tell you whether if it is magnet pull.
Right. There'll be like a pop up that says you can't switch out.
Right. So that's a good way to check.
Right.
It's a good little strategy.
But also, don't just click on any Pokemon on your team to try to switch to, because if it does work, then that thing's taking a very hard hit.
Right. Oh
that is a good strategy. Cool.
Yep.
I'm excited for Spiritomb to calm mind kills win the game. I'm excited for Choice Band Rhyperior to get 5 more kills, like the 2 times that I brought it last time. So this is cool. This is a cool team, Chris. I think you'll have fun with it. Yeah. Who's next? You?
Me. Okay, I'll ask you the same question you asked me about your team. What kind of team is this?
Ooh, I think this is between bulky offense and a balanced team. I'm going to call it bulky offense, though.
Yeah, I think if I had a regenerator Pokemon,
Yeah,
if
if you had
I
instead of Drapion, if this was a Tangrowth,
yep,
then it'd be a balanced team.
yep.
Um,
I'm oh go ahead. Sorry.
no, you go.
I was gonna say I'm really happy that I got Drapion. I think that that is the Pokemon that holds this team together in the
Hmm.
middle of in the middle of my tiers. I think I was really happy
Tell
with
me,
my top
tell me
four.
how.
So here's how. Because I have these top four. I have Gliscor, Suicune, Metagross, Zapdos.
Hmm.
And actually Espeon I drafted before Drapion. I have these top
Hmm.
four, so I felt like in the middle of the draft I was like, okay, I feel like I have Espeon speed I think is enough. And then I have okay speed tiers the rest of the way down. Good physical attacker and Metagross I can take most steel and psychic and dragon types. Gliscor and Suicune kind of play off each other. So I sort of felt like with Gliscor and Suicune that I, in a lot of ways can just infinite switch back and forth. But I need to do more. I was like, I need this team to do more than just infinite switch back and forth. I need to do damage to win. And Gliscor and Suicune both lost Toxic. And so I was like, I need a great Toxic. I need a great Pokemon that I wanted something that learns Toxic. I really wanted something that learns Toxic Spikes.
It does. It knows toxic spikes. It knows both.
I know it knows both, and so it at least it would have been okay if it only knew Toxic, but it also knew Toxic Spikes and Knockoff.
And
So
it retains knockoff. Holy.
Right. Why don't you go back to BDSP and sort by Pokemon that know Toxic and Knockoff for me?
Wow.
Yep.
You and Andy have you and Andy drafted the only two, and now let's sort by speed. And Drapion's the fastest out of those.
Yep.
Oh, that's funny how Scoring Piece still got a better rap than the Shuckle. That's so funny.
That's so great. Drapion just did everything that I needed.
Wow.
I needed a good-ish Pokemon that knew Knockoff. I needed a good-ish Pokemon that knew Toxic Spikes. I needed a
and here's the other example: the Toxic Spikes and Knockoff. You got the Drapions and Omastars are the only ones that know both of those.
Right. So yeah, it's pretty crazy. So I think that Drapion this team together. It also gets Sword Stance. I didn't really have very much setup, so it really was a good mid tier for me. So I sort of think the top half of my draft speaks for itself. I'm gonna have fun with the bottom half. I think Hariyama is great for me. I wanted a thick fat, or actually Guts also is great because I felt like my team was Scald weak, especially after drafting Drapion. And it's a little bit Ice weak with Gliscor and Zapdos, and so I felt like Hariyama really with Guts. Obviously, it's okay to be burned, and then thick fat reduces Ice type damage. So
I think Hariyama is going to be a sleeper Pokemon. I don't think people are going to realize how strong a close combat is from Pokemon with 120 base attack, let alone if it's Guts boosted.
Right, and it also has Sheer Force. It has 3 great abilities.
And a Sheer Force. It has Belly Drum. It doesn't get Drain Punch. So if it did Belly, what?
Yeah, but it does have Bullet Punch.
Right. Yeah. There are ways that this thing is going to wreck teams.
Yep.
And I feel like it's almost like user preference whether they would choose Hariyama or Machamp. That's how strong this thing is.
Yep. Yeah. So and then for the rest of my low tiers, I know I've been hyping up Slacking, but I'm gonna have fun with it. It's base 160 attack.
I see it. I know you. I'm like out of the low elo. I'm like in 1300, 1400 with stall right now, and I'm still seeing Slaking.
To give you, I'm running around with Slaking in, similar, like around 1300s in OU. And to give you context for how hard Quagsire is to beat, my Choice Band Adamant Body Slam was doing like 35% to Quagsire.
That's funny. Even if it did 50%, I recover that turn, and then I recover on the turn you switch out or stay in.
Right, exactly. So anyway, so moral of the story, Quagsire's insane. Also, Mawile, I'm excited to have had an opportunity to draft. I feel like I've been hyping it up as a good, at least to myself, as a good low tier for a while. It gets
Yeah.
Intimidate, or Sheer Force. It has Sucker Punch. It has Stealth Rocks. It's Steel Fairy, which is the best typing in the game, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
So it has a good move pool. So I'm excited. I think that Mawile, it gets SD. So, and then I just wanted a fire type. So
Yeah, I mean, Houndoom is good. There's quite a few fire types with Flash Fire, but it's such a good ability, especially with things like Metagross on your team, and Mawile as well, or your Steel types. Flash Fire is such a fun ability, and I think it's fast and hits hard for where it is. Having two dark types, I think, will be fun for you, picking which one you want to use each week, and I think Espeon, we didn't really talk about it here. We talked about it before we talked about your team when we were talking about just the tiers in general. I think is a really strong pick for a Pokemon that costs less, or I think technically 9 is the average. So I think it's incredibly good for being average pointed. To have that speed, magic bounce, and pretty strong defenses given you might think that 65 HP and 60 defense aren't very strong, but surprisingly, this switches in quite a bit into resists. Like if you can expect that something is going to close combat, you might still be able to switch into it, and given its speed, you can really just start threatening things. So I like your team. I like your team a lot. This feels like a team that I would draft. And um, I don't always have great seasons, so maybe that's an insult. I feel like Andy insultingly calls a team that feels really well balanced but has no offensive presence as a Kyle team. This might fall into that category. I think on paper the data shows that you have offense. I'll be surprised how frequently the offense is the thing you're gearing your build towards. I want you to win with Gliscor and Suicune. I want you to run the rest set and the roost set, and I want you. I want you to spend. I want 3 coaches to just quit the league because they can't beat Suicune and Gliscor. I want to have 9 coaches next season because of this core.
We'll have to do some recruiting then, I guess. All right. Well, yeah. No one's gonna beat my team. So,
yep.
Yeah. Okay. Let me see who is next.
Maybe Venusaurs?
The Irish, the Marines.
Yes, and then I think it's Venusaurs.
Yeah, then Venusaurs, then Dalton. Dragon.
Okay, there's the team.
Okay.
This is a confusing team. And I say confusing because it's all just good Pokemon.
It is all the way down, except for but
yeah. I mean, I don't necessarily like the bottom 2 picks, but Webs could actually be really good with Breloom and Dragonite, and Electivire. I love that we're finally getting someone to draft Dugtrio. I'm sure he's going to have some problems with it and be frustrated with it, but at 120 speed, and it's now one of the fastest Pokemon drafted in the meta, and to be able to trap certain things that are going to stop Breloom and Dragonite, and just trap Choice Band Earthquake against them with Dugtrio, kill them or get them weak, is going to be such a viable strategy to win every week. And there are so many opportunities for setup with this team. It's insane. Dragonite obviously has set up Snorlax. We have the Curselax sets. We have the Breloom sets that are like that. Empoleon also gets some kind of wild setup things with Swords Dance and other strategies that there's some room for pretty heavy offense on this team for a team with Pokemon as bulky as Empoleon, Snorlax, and Dragonite. I'm pretty excited to see where this goes.
Yeah, and I think this team does a great job of supporting Dragonite, like you mentioned with Dugtrio trapping, but also like Breloom Spore into switch into Dragonite with Dragon Dance.
Oh yeah, Snorlax
Um,
having thick fat, being able to switch into ice moves, Empoleon
mm,
being able to switch into ice moves.
mm. I think that Skuntank really pulls the hazard removal up a level in this
Right.
team.
Yep.
I think it's going to be hard. You're not going to want it on Dragonite because you want Defog, you want the Roxcon
Let
before
me
you bring
see. I need
Dragonite
to
in.
make sure. It might have lost Defog. Nope, it still has it. It lost
Yeah,
knockoff.
actually, I was Skuntank was one of the Pokemon. I was like, ooh, does Skuntank fit my bill for knockoff and toxic spikes? And it doesn't.
No.
Um, but yeah, I mean, I think this is a great team. Do you think that this team is going to have to be beaten offensively or defensively?
I think this team relies on oh, what's it called in strategy? Someone, Chris or Brian or someone else comment. What's it called? I'm trying to think of like there's like a name for like a or like it's like almost like an engine builder where it's like you kind of need when A happens, then you go into B, and then from B you go into C, and there's sort of like a progression that I think is required for this team to win. And so ways to sort of break up that progression. If Breloom is in and needs to click that spore and then to switch into Dragonite and do the Dragon Dance or Agility or whichever, if you can roar one of those out or whirlwind one of those out or switch into your Pokemon with like a switch into your grass type on Breloom or whatever it may be, taunt the Snorlax, like whatever, like if you can find the thing uh, that stops the engine from progressing, then I think that's how you would beat this team. Which would kind of in practice, it's going to be a lot harder to do because you have to like almost imagine how is Connor going to beat me? What looks threatening that he's going to build around and then counter that.
Mm-hmm.
Because maybe if you just actually the other way to win is to just attack it. There aren't many things that can recover.
That's true. You
Dragonite,
got the Toxic or Breloom, the Reflex, Dragonite, Aerodactyl.
right?
I don't
But
think it's too bad. But
it's not
Empoleon,
it's not bad. I'm just trying to think of like if I didn't have a stall team, what might I do? I might just start hitting things, and see what happens.
what
Chip
tier
damage
is?
over time.
Mhm, no, there's no Audino. Is there like a low tier fairy that gets Wish?
Clefable or a Wigglytuff.
Wigglytuff. I feel like Wigglytuff might be good on this team.
I think you're right.
Connor, if you're itching for a switch. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. You could. Yeah, Wigglytuff is in the same tier as Kadabra. So I know you like Kadabra, but if you're itching to make a switch,
Right.
that might be a place to look.
Cool.
Okay.
I think kind of worry a little bit about the ground weaknesses for Empoleon, Electivire, Skuntank. I know they're not going to bring each of those every week. And then the Breloom and the Doug Trio and the Dragonite have the ice weakness, so there's a little bit of like an Ice Beam Earthquake. A Mamoswine is going to ruin some of this team. Who drafted Mamoswine? Maybe Emerson. We'll find it. We'll find out. But so I think that like things like that, Connor, just be very careful about doubling and tripling up on your weaknesses. And if you do bring Dragonite, Doug Trio, and Breloom, make sure that your Snorlax can counter the ice type that's going to be coming in.
Great. All right. Next up, we have the Venusaurs.
All right, Sean, show us what you got.
So, Sean drafted a very colorful team here. And Sean notably actually wound up not having the opportunity, but after I think 3 or 4 picks, I texted him and said, hey, Sean, your team had like Raikou, Azumarill, Arcanine. I was like, Sean, you should really draft Tangrowth. I don't think it winds up making its way back to him, and he said, "No, no way. I gotta go with my baby Torterra."
That is so funny.
And so
Living into yeah, the fandom.
Yeah. Right. So I think expect Torterra to come a lot, but I mean I like this team. I think it's great. To be honest, I'm a little surprised that we put Azumarill at 15 points. Obviously, we didn't make that many changes to the tier list, but yeah,
do you think it should have been lower or higher?
Maybe 16. I don't know.
Yeah, I agree. At first I thought you were saying it. Well, why is it that high?
Oh no.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's great. I think Crobat is great. I think all these Pokemon are great. I don't know if I have a whole lot to say. It just looks good.
Yeah, it looks like a draft team. It has the like standard kind of. I think Slowbro Umbreon are going to survive for a very, very long time, and both can be sort of titrated to be either physically defensive or specially defensive. Obviously, both have a preference for that, but you can still bring a physically defensive Umbreon and a specially defensive Slowbro if that's what the week would require. I think that there's some hidden bulk inside Crobat that's also gonna help this team out. And I know I'm not going to list Torterra here, but if every week Sean just brought these top 6 Pokemon, he'll do fine. He'll do better than fine. That's a really, really, really good set. It takes a while. I guess you have the Crobat. I was going to say it takes a while to get to Pokemon that are resisting Earthquake. There might be, besides the water types and Umbreon, there's an Edgequake weakness here where if you have Earthquake and Stone Edge, then you're going to do a decent amount of damage to this. But also, the things that get Earthquake and Stone Edge are going to be very, very scared of Azumarill Slowbro.
Yep.
So
there's also a little bit of lack of hazard removal here, which is maybe difficult with Arcanine and Crobat playing such a prominent role. I think it's just Claydol and Crobat.
I think you're right. Yeah.
Removal. Raikou also, I feel like, doesn't really love the hazards.
Right. Raikou notably kept a lot of its, not a lot, but enough of its new moves, the water moves and stuff like that, which is really cool for it. Yep.
Yeah.
So one thing I like about this team is how many pivot options there are into potentially Azu, or we have the Baton Pass Umbreon, the U-turn Crobat. I don't think Slowbro gets teleport. But I think this is all dated to Gen 8. It's not recent. Maybe Arcanine gets teleport, but I actually don't think so either. I think it's only Pokemon that get teleport through level up, because I don't think it's a TM. But you have Raikou, Crobat, Umbreon, and that can all, Umbreon can slow Baton Pass, and with its typing, kind of take any hit and then switch into Azu, and then Azu that turn can Belly Drum or Choice Band hit something. I think this team is really set up for Azu to be successful. Having the double water type is something that I've liked for a very long time in Draft League, where you have an offensive water type and a defensive water type. Andy has the same thing. He's covering Crawdaunt as the offensive water type with a defensive water type. So I think it's a really cool combo. I'm excited to see where this team goes. There's not too much of a speed gap going on here, because unless he's running defensive Arcanine and not running much speed in that category, then I think his speed tiers kind of cover each other pretty well. And I think Aggron helps to sort of helps to round out the team, I think, in a pretty effective way, given its typing and its, I don't know, potential to come in and be a wild card Pokemon one or 3 weeks.
Yeah, absolutely. Having that normal resist can be really important.
I would
Yeah,
love to
I think.
build with this team.
Yeah, I think, like you said, this is just feels very classic draft league. I think it'll be fun to play with, and I think you have to be creative, Sean, but I think it'll be great.
Yeah. Next up,
Dalton Dragons. New new coach Emerson.
yeah,
Welcome to the
zero
league.
CCS. That's better than some of you, and
Oh,
and an even record, also better than some of you. I'm kidding. I'm
hey,
kidding. Yeah, I'm
this
very
is
excited that
also
Emerson joined the league. He and I kind of bonded over Pokemon during COVID because he started watching like VGC content on YouTube. Um, so that would be where his experience is mostly. And I think he said in the chat once, like, I'm excited to be bad at the start and hopefully get better. So this feels like a good team to learn Draft League with.
absolutely. I think we were talking about, Sean, that Sean just had, a very draft league team. This is the most draft league team that was
Yeah.
drafted. And I think actually you put a little superlative in the chat that was like the most draft league gas
Yeah, Draft League looking
team.
ass team.
Yeah. I could not agree more. I mean, some of the Heatran, Rotom Wash, Mamoswine, Uxie, uh, Machamp are total classics.
Yeah. This feels like if an algorithm looked at the Porch League and said, what Pokemon does the Porch League like, that it would like spit out this team.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. So I think this is going to be so fun to play and build with. There is a little bit of a sad news for the Rotoms that they lost Defog this season, but I still think this team is great. I think there were some comments that it was, not quite sure what was scary about this team, but I mean, I think, like how Kyle, you pointed out at the beginning that, the power creep has gone back down. So Mamoswine is one of the strongest physical attackers in the game.
Heatran is literally the third strongest special attacker.
Yeah, and Staraptor with Reckless is incredibly strong. So I mean, I think that this team has a lot of threats. It has some good pivot options with Uxie and Rotom Wash, and Staraptor potentially you'll be pivoting with.
Yep.
I think that's great. I think
Someone said in the chat, it might have been Sean, that this looks like the most protected Heatran. And I can totally see that. I think that was after, I think it was after this. It was like Uxie, Staraptor, Mamoswine, Rotom Wash, Heatran. It was like, man, this thing is just going to be able to like have a switch in for any type of thing that's coming after it. And I think that's true. I think that there's a lot of cool ways that this team can build in offense and have momentum through U-turns. With Staraptor gets U-turn. Is that true?
I think so.
Uxie definitely does. Rotom Wash gets Volt Switch. And there's quite a bit of options for Choice Scarfed Pokemon on this team. We haven't really brought that up yet, but sometimes Pokemon are middling tier or middling speed and aren't very good Choice Scarf users, and other times there are middling speed Pokemon that are really good Choice Scarf users. I think Rotom Wash is a good example of a Pokemon that you can run with Choice Scarf to make it faster than a lot of things, and you can Volt Switch out on bad matchups or stay in with Hydro Pump and Thunderbolt on good matchups. Staraptor, if it does get that U-turn, another good example.
I think this Magius is always a great helper.
Right, and both Heatran and Mamoswine, I wouldn't recommend doing it often, but once or twice for each of them, you're going to really, put yourself in a good position if your Choice Scarf Flamethrower is hitting the right thing. So I'm excited for this team. If I have a reservation, it's going to be the same reservation that I gave to Chris, which is that the speed isn't
Mm,
it might be a limiting factor. It's a little bit how do you say deceiving that Uxie is a base 95 speed Pokemon because oftentimes you're not running any speed on it because you want to make it as defensive as possible. Same with Golbat. Though I don't know, with Golbat without a Violite, there might actually be more options to run it semi-offensively. Um, and um, so out of Machamp and higher, which are the Pokemon that are average tiered or better, there's only one Pokemon that is base 100 points, and only I'm not going to count Uxie, only two Pokemon that are higher than 85 points. So that's notable, but I think that this team is defensive enough, or at least bulky enough. It might not have too many recovering options. It's at least bulky enough to sort of outlast if it's like a 40 turn game.
yeah, there's always kind of the question if you have a team that is like, very classic, um, with widespread of offense and defense with a lot of options of whether basically how the meta is going to fall. If the meta is like a little bit more defensive, which my gut tells me that it will be this season, then does this team have the offensive firepower to break through that? And if the team's a little bit offensive, if the meta is a little more offensive, does this team have the defensive capacity to resist that? So
Right.
sometimes you can be on the right side of both of those questions. Sometimes you can be on the wrong side of both of those questions.
Right.
And it's hard to tell ahead of time.
This team might be Emerson might pull out some of his hair in some of the matchups because I could see it being a little bit of like a brain buster, a little bit of a challenge on. Oh, okay, well the other team has these three Pokemon, and I want to bring these four. What exactly should I do with each of them? Because I guess one of the challenges with a variety of a Pokemon that Pokemon that have a variety of different types of options, ways to bring it. Heatran can be brought a lot of different ways. Same with Rotom, same with Mamoswine. Is like, okay, but what do I choose this week? There's not many. I guess an example of like a linear Pokemon would be Machamp. If Machamp's coming in, there's only one or two ways that people are building with it. Some of these Pokemon are just like there's so many options that could kind of be a team building nightmare. Um, so Emerson, just feel free to reach out to me or to others. Everyone likes to help each other out in the team building process. Some people will even do mock matches each week if you want to have more practice in singles. I know people I could name anyone. A lot of people in the league like to uh, build an option of a team that your opponent would be, and then you'd bring your team and kind of trial it. Um, so just reach out to people because I know I say just reach out to people as if it's like always easy to do, but just know that a lot of people really not only would they do it, but they find it really fun. So um,
Yeah. Next up, we have the Columbus Caballon.
also, by the way, if I drafted this my first season, this is such a good first time draft. By the way,
Oh yeah, yeah. Columbus Hero Price Ryan is joining us again.
welcome back,
Welcome back. We're very
our
glad
YouTube
to
our
have you.
YouTube star.
Yeah, we're very glad to have him. I guess he was in season 15. Also, I forgot about that. But,
Yep.
yeah, so great. So Ryan drafted some capital T threats, and also the classic low tier defensive mon of Piloswine. So,
Yep.
tell us about Alakazam, Rampardos, Blastoise, Heracross, Roserade,
I mean, it's
Rampardos.
just wall breakers and setup threats, like almost all the way down. Everything can run a choice band on it or a choice specs on it and be incredibly threatening. Also, some pretty good choice scarf users on this team, and I think it's literally just there's not like the standard like Shuckle or Sneeze or who has the paintbrush?
Oh, Smeargle.
Smeargle, yeah. There's not this typical like Shuckle, Smeargle, Azelf style HO lead, but holy cow, there's just a bunch of options on this team. Um, yeah, this
Yeah,
is just
we
this reminds me of that time. I think it was Ryan's first draft with us after being experienced in other drafts and then coming in here for the first time and then drafting like Tapu Koko round 1 and Megalodios round 2.
right.
You're like, how is this still around that he was able to
Right.
pick it up every time?
Right. Yeah, I think I'm very afraid of this team, and especially like I've been saying, I think the meta is leaning a little more defensive, and so I think Ryan basically slurped up all the good wall breakers. Like, did we show that Rampardos actually has the highest attack stat?
Yeah,
Like of
165.
all,
Right,
yeah. With with Mold Breaker and Sheer Force, so
right.
your banded earthquakes are hitting
Yeah,
yeah
or Sheer Force,
rotos.
Life Orb,
Mm-hmm.
Head
Yeah,
Smash, or whatever it is.
it's pretty incredible. I'm going to be just really excited to watch these matches, and I think um, Ryan has actually done a BDSP draft, a Gen 4 draft, right?
Yeah. I think currently in one, not
Oh, okay.
finished, but has
Already
drafted and yeah,
has completed, has done the drafting process.
yeah,
So maybe he had a little bit of a leg up on all of us, but I
right,
mean, I think this looks really strong. I think this team leans a lot more offensive than most teams in our league this season, and I think that a lot of people are going to have a really hard time figuring out what to do with Weavile
yeah,
Alakazam.
yeah. I think he has a better like hold on what the meta is and what Pokemon are good. Just like I think last season he was talking about Tapu Koko Slowbro as being like pretty meta given what other leagues are trending towards. I think he has a better understanding of what's good, and and I think also his drafting style worked really well for this point system, where he's kind of just like once it's his turn, he finds the best Pokemon that's left and then picks it up. Um, I think you can kind of see that here with how many good threats there are um, on the
And
team.
notably, this is 11 Pokemon. So there
Yep.
haven't been very many teams so far that have drafted 11. But
It's 11 Pokemon and also 6 Pokemon that are 10 points and higher.
right.
So, like, I feel like it's like best of both worlds going on here. Um, those low tiers, you only have to bring once, and I could see him bringing some of them multiple times. How do you beat this team?
I think you need to pick the right Scarfer.
Yeah.
And I think you might have to make aggressive switches. To be totally honest, I think you might have to. I think if you play it safe, then you're just gonna have your. I don't know. I just think it might not work out very well if you try and play it safe. I think you're gonna be behind, and you're gonna
You have to be like, yeah, you have to drink 2 cups of coffee beforehand and get your adrenaline going before the match starts, and then just like kind of scream at your computer.
Yeah.
I think
ahead of time about your sacks and about how many turns you think you can last.
Yeah.
And be careful about your priority.
I think my approach is going to be recognizing that he's not in my conference and praying to the random gods that got me second in the tier list to also just not match me up with this team during the regular season, and I'll be happy.
I think you would have a particularly bad matchup against this team.
Oh yeah, okay, never mind. I want to play him and I want to beat him. I want to 6-0 install.
Yeah.
This is a great team. This might be my favorite team. If I had to critique it, I would say that yeah, there's not many recovery options, but everything else about this team I really like.
Yeah. I think next up we have the Washington Pokemon team. Did I hear that the Washington Pokemon team is going to change their name again?
Yep.
Is that right?
Yep, we can confirmed. I've seen some prototypes going around. I'm gonna wait for the official announcement though before I go
Yeah,
forward. Also, while we were early in the draft, I also got a prototype of the Dalton Dragapults logo, which is gonna be hot. So,
great. Oh my gosh, very exciting. So this
so
team, I had said that Infernape is the new Weavile, and I think that holds true speed wise on this team. But one thing that Kyle, you and I were noting ahead of time is that this is the location in the draft where we start to see that there basically weren't enough good Pokemon in our tier list for every single team to get 3 good Pokemon.
right.
And I think that I like this team a lot, but I think based on location that Brian didn't really have the opportunity to draft 3 amazing Pokemon.
Right.
So I think he drafted 2 amazing Pokemon, which are Gengar and Infernape, and I think the rest of the team complements them. But um, I think that's like a limitation of the way that just like the number of Pokemon that are in the format right now and the number of coaches we have.
Yeah. I was gonna make a joke, but I actually don't know if my joke is true. But if the name change goes through, this would also be the 3rd team name, so he's living up to his 3 names junior.
Ah,
3 names
that's
junior.
great. That's great.
Yeah, this team has a lot of hyper offensive potential. Which makes me wonder what Bronzong and Gastrodon are doing on the team, because Masquerain plus Omastar are really good setup or good starts. I guess Bronzong lead with there's an old format was Stealth Rock Screens Explosion. Yeah, so I would just tell um, Brian to just lean in on that offense because it's kind of a huge threat. Infernape, Gengar, Gyarados, Honchkrow, Omastar, Masquerain. I've seen quite a few Masquerains on the OU ladder as well.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, I guess Intimidate.
Intimidate,
Sorry,
Webs, Intimidate, and Quiver Dance. Quiver Dance with a Pokemon with 100 special attack and 80 speed, it gets out of hand faster than in previous generations. Ursaring also is going to hit something really hard. Leafeon's going to hit something really hard. So, one of the more offensive teams of the draft, and yeah, like I said, I don't know what Gastrodon. I don't know that Gastrodon will be needed, except on the off times where Brian wants to play slower. But I think the team is geared towards play fast.
It is a little bit unfortunate that Gastrodon doesn't have a pivot option, and I guess Bronzong has Explosion, which is not. It's kind of pivot.
Right.
It would be. I think this team would really benefit from a if Slowbro still had teleport, then like a Slowbro teleport.
Oh yeah.
Thing. So I'm not sure, what that is, but I like this team a lot. I think Honchkrow is a really amazing Pokemon that I don't think has ever really done very much in our draft league before. It's a great, base 125 is really fast.
Yeah, Moxie boosting, Sucker Punch.
It's an amazing Scarfer.
And does it get Sword Stance? I feel like it has some sort of.
No, but I think it gets Nasty Plot. It's like a physical attacker that has a huge. It's actually 105 base special attack and a really big special pool, or at least it used to. And
right.
Nasty Plot. Let me pull it up.
Yeah, it still gets Dark Pulse, Nightshade, Psychic, Shadow Ball. That's really all you. That's as much as you need. Ghost, Dark, Psychic, Psychic as options, and Air Cutter for a flying thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, this Pokemon's cool. Defog, Haze.
Facade is great. You could switch in on Scalds and bring Facade. It has Tailwind and Thunderwave. And
Brian, I'm gonna send you a potential Honchkrow set that I was thinking about when I was drafting, um, and yeah, I challenge you to use it 1 week. I'm
There's
doing
not
it
very much
right now.
hazard. There's not very much hazard removal on this team. We did mention Honchkrow. I think Omastar gets Rapid Spin. So I think that is.
Yeah.
It could potentially play a role. You're also
Yeah.
going to be playing very quickly.
The more
So-
offense, the less likely, or the less that you'll need to be running defog and getting the hazards off and stuff like that. But if you're trying to run a more defensive week, then you're kind of forced to run Honchkrow defensively as well to get off the defogs and stuff like that. I like this team. I think that like all the recommendations I gave, if you lean in on the offense, then this is going to be one of the more offensive teams. This team looks a lot more like that, like Ryan's team we just looked at. If I kind of like truncate the bulk and like stop looking at the bulk and just see them as offensive as an HO thing, then I think it's like kind of top tier for sure.
I think next up we have the Orlando Magikarp.
Let's see if Ben drafts a bulky psychic or bulky steel type. Oh! There it is.
I think this is my favorite team.
Ooh.
I'm still deciding whether I think it's the best team, but this is my favorite team. I think it has a ton of amazing things. Mew obviously is incredible. I think it's even better this gen than it has been in the past, just because of the general, speed and power nerf that we've seen, and also the fact that it gets defog and rocks and spikes and P-spikes is incredible. So I think Mew is amazing. Cloyster is a great complement. Yeah, I just think the top 5, Mew, Cloyster, Porygon V, Gardevoir, Shaman, all hit extremely hard and can be defensive in the right situations. And I think that the low tier, there's some really classic draft league low tiers. Moltres, even though it doesn't get heavy duty boots anymore, is really kind of classic.
I mean, he has 2 rapid spinners too, which is great for the Moltres pick.
Right. And then, yeah, of course, Steelix and Hitmonchan have, and to be honest, even Dusknoir has a pretty long history in our league of being, really reliable low tier pick though. I mean, and I think I like Ninjask. I'm not sure that we've seen it a whole lot in our league, but I like Ninjask a lot. I think it, adds a great option against, U-turning against Alakazams and things like that. Yeah, I think this is an amazing team.
It's great. Very, very good options from you. You could run setup attacker every week if you wanted to, but I actually think that this team has enough variety on the offense that I think finding the ways that this Pokemon can be defensive, maybe it's the Stealth Rocker and the Ice Beam, the Gliscor type Pokemon, taunting the Suicune type Pokemon. I think working out sort of the Mew tech, where it doesn't have to be the star every week, would be really nice, especially since you have Gardevoir, which is one of the strongest special attackers, and doubling that psychic type helps. You know how I was saying earlier about the double water with the defensive water type and the offensive water type? There's that option here with the psychic fairy as potentially the offense, and then bulky Mew on defense could be really threatening. If there's not going to be many Pokemon that are able to kill Gardevoir and Mew. Like maybe they have a dark type, and then your Mew can take out that dark type, so that your Gardevoir can kind of run freer. I don't know what the metaphor is there. Sorry, but that's one of the things I see. Also with Cloyster being able to lay down some of those hazards it might not matter so much that you have hazard removal, given that they're not going to want the spikes or they're not going to want the stacked hazards on their side. Porygon Z is surprisingly now a really big threat. There's figure out how download works with your team building, because so with download, the ability is on switch in, special attack or attack is raised based on the foe's weaker defense. So that might play a role. Actually, it plays more of a role for your opponent. So an example I will give is, let's say you have a Pokemon like Uxie, where the defense and the special defense are the same. You're going to want to make sure that your special defense is slightly higher. Like, even if you have an Uxie and you just want to put 4 in special defense, that way if Porygon Z comes in and clicks download, it's going to boost its attack rather than its special attack. You don't want Porygon Z to boost its special attack, is what I'm saying. So for Ben, I guess that would mean figuring out when to switch it in. Switch it in on if someone has Slowking, switch Porygon in on Slowking, assuming that it has a higher defensive stat than special attacking or special defensive stat, and then go from there.
Would you consider that download is also a way to scout if you have Pokemon that could be run physical or specially defensive?
Yeah, exactly. Run it against me. My Clefable is going to be either either going to be special defense or defense. And if it's a defensive Clefable and you bring in a Porygon Z, now you're +1 and you're hitting on the special side. So that's kind of a good way to think about it. Adaptability is also just going to be an incredibly strong move. Not only are you the strongest hitter, but Tri Attack is basically like Hyper Beam at that point.
Yeah, this is a great team. This looks super fun to play with and build with, and I think you'll do great.
Yeah, I'm a little bit worried about the longevity of the team, given there's not a Wish Passer and things like
not get Wish.
I don't think so. Let's check. Oh wait, Gardevoir is like 65 HP. No, it gets Healing Wish, which would be
Healing Wish.
Yeah, which could be cool. But yeah, if this, I guess Porygon Z might get Recover. Never mind. I'm a little. I guess I'll just say I'm skeptical of the longevity of this team. And if it's not going to stay around for a while, is it going to hit hard enough? Would be the next question. So run your choice specs. Run your choice specs on your Gardevoir and your Porygon Z. Run your. Where's the physical attack? Oh yeah, Cloyster. Yeah. So cool team.
Okay, great. So I think next up we have Nick J. Is that right?
Yep. What's the team? Beartix.
Beartix, yes. So this is Salaman's Tyranitar, Nidoking, Lucario.
This feels very Nick to me, in the sense that it's just like Nick just drafts Pokemon that he knows are good. And maybe they don't necessarily work well together, but they're good Pokemon.
And he'll make them work well together.
Yeah, or just build strong teams.
Yeah, I think I'm a little bit worried about the physical special split of this team. And I also kind of wonder if the low tiers are, with this having only 9 Pokemon, I wonder if the low tiers are enough to support the high tiers. I mean, I'm confident that Nick will make it work. I think those are some of my, I guess, initial reservations.
Yeah, there's like a Edgequake weakness. There's so many Pokemon Earthquake weak. in the Pokemon that he's going to be bringing most weeks. I guess he has some switch-ins with the Vaporeon and the Mesprit. Um, it's also notable that Salamence could be running Intimidate, so you can kind of nerf whichever physical attackers you think are going to be those threats. But I think that this is going to be a fun season for Nick. I think that if people are skeptical of Mesprit, Andy, or Lucario, Andy, um, this is the coach to make them work, and I think it will when they do work, because I think they will work out well. I think it'll be evidence both of the strength of the coach, but also the hidden talent of the Pokemon, and sort of like a realization of their potentiality, to use some bullshit word.
I think Lucario is actually. I know this is my train, but I think that whatever you thought of Lucario in the previous gen, that it is improved this gen by kind of
Yeah,
the overall nerfing.
I think it's like Magnezone for me, where you've always been like, "Oh, Lucario's good. You just need the right team for it," and and then considering the change in the meta and the types of Pokemon, it's like, okay, now it's really good, and even though it was good, now it's really good.
Right.
I like the double steal on
Mm.
in a draft like this, having Fortress be your switch into the dragons and the fairies, having rapid spin with it. Really, I think frees up your Lucario and your other Pokemon to do some good things. You have a lot of stealth rockers, so stealth rock plus rapid spin is going to be good for you, and I think you just have some power here where other teams might be worried about having power. You have a special wall breaker, you have a physical wall breaker, and possible setup. You have setup with Salamence, you have setup with Lucario. Uh, yeah, it's going to be tough for teams to handle this. I think
Yeah.
it looks weird intuitively because it doesn't really have the fire, water, grass thing. It doesn't really have the type synergy that we look for generally, but I think that's pretty standard for Nick to kind of just like not have those traditional core triad looking thingies.
I think yeah, I think you're right that yeah, without the fire type, or yeah, without those kind of traditional type synergies, yeah, my eye is maybe not reading the full potential of this team.
Mm-hmm.
So I can't wait to see what the potential turns out to be.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
All right, and our last coach um, is the Dayton Dunsparce. A little bit of porch lore um, for those of you who have not been in with the Dayton Dunsparce before. This is Andy Kramer. He's been in 2 seasons so far. He took a break last season, and he, in both seasons, went just barely squeaked into the playoffs and won the championship.
And then Dark Horse swept through everyone.
Right. So this is a coach to watch out for.
Right. Very good at the rematch. I think I'm still salty from the season 14 where I felt like his team was a lot better than mine, and so I tried to predict what he wasn't going to bring. I was like, oh, he's not going to bring a Xatu or a Celebi, so I can just run Choice Band Rhyperior. And I did, and it worked perfectly. And then I saw him in playoffs, and I couldn't build a second team. And I think in the season 13, he had Bravery that he switched in on my defog, and I was just like, okay, so definitely the coach clutch. The clutch coach of the league in a lot of ways. So, what do you see when you look at this team?
This team, well, it's a little bit. It reads a little bit weird or a little bit odd, right? With Ditto and Smeargle, it makes it a little bit hard to understand how this team will operate.
Mm-hmm.
I think what I see is some high tier defensive Pokemon like Melodic and Jirachi and Tangrowth,
Right.
which are gonna be able to switch around very easily, and I think they have good type synergy.
Mm-hmm.
And I see some pretty offensive low tiers. Jolteon Absol, Flareon, and Glaceon. We were talking about Flareon and Glaceon are secretly, or a bit under the radar as being very, very offensive
Yeah,
for
look,
this gen.
130 special attack Glaceon, 130 attack Flareon, 130 attack Absol, 110 special attack with 130 speed Jolteon. Just these like four low tiers, not counting Dunsparce. I love the meme pick. Like these four low tiers are probably the strongest Pokemon in their tiers stat wise.
Yeah, so I think that there's a bit of optimization that's happened for this draft, especially for is this an 11? This is 12 months.
It's 11 and it's an 11 in the mascot.
Well, Andy, I made my prediction, but I did lose a match to him in the playoffs once because I did not properly prepare for
Prep
Dunsparce.
for Dunsparce.
Serene Grace Body Slam. I mean,
Yeah.
what are you gonna do?
Yep.
It gets Stealth Rocks and Defog and Serene Grace Body Slam
And it gets Glare, I think.
Yeah, it's
Yep.
good. It's pretty good as a team.
Jirachi notably doesn't have Iron Head, so I think it's Zen. What's the psychic move that has potential chance to flinch? Is it Zen Headbutt?
Yeah,
That only has 20% chance, which buffs up to 40%, so less than half the time, but still combined with a paralysis, is still annoying.
Yeah,
I think that I'm almost jealous of this team. Not necessarily of I wouldn't necessarily care to pick any of these low tiers. No offense. Maybe actually Absol. I think Absol's with the super luck has some, and Night Slash and stuff has some, and Sucker Punch is going to sweep quite a bit of teams. But I'm jealous of I'm kind of jealous of him and you for having the stall option without committing to stall. I think Jirachi Tangrowth Milotic is kind of reflective of your Suicune Gliscor and also like my Skarmory, Clefable, Blissey setup, where that's going to last. You have a Wish Passer, you have Recover with Milotic, and you have Regen with Tangrowth. That's just going to be an annoying defensive core. My question is going to be what comes for offense, especially if you want to bring Ditto. Now you have two Pokemon left to, maybe it's your setup for Alligator or your setup Absol and then one other thing. So there's a little bit of like, maybe, because it's not like Brian's team where it's like, oh, if you just lean in on the offense, then it just looks like an HO team. This will never look like that because the all the offense comes with min-maxing of the lower tiers. So I have some questions about it, but I think that the team synergizes, especially the top picks, including I'll include Donphan in the bulky side. Donphan, Tangrowth, Jirachi, Milotic is just like a really, really cool set of bulk. You got some fat picks there to work around.
Yeah, I think it'll be interesting, and maybe Andy in classic form will take a little bit of time to get used to the team and
right.
then do
really have a 4-4 season and then win. So, well, cool. Yeah, I think that's it. Do we have anything else we need to say or talk about? The schedule isn't out yet, but next week is the first week, so hopefully the schedule gets out soon. Be on the lookout for the Washington Pokemon team potential rebrand, and the logo for Dalton Dragapults. Yeah, I want to see. At some point, I'm going to put up my tier list, and I want to see. I want to see what other people's tier lists are too, because we looked at the team and we analyzed them, but we didn't grade them.
Right. Yeah. Please put out your tier list, and hopefully Kyle and I will have ours out soon as well.
Cool. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, guys.
Bye bye.